So while I'm doing the RJWC dual exhaust and header, one thing you're going to want to consider, and it's highly recommended, is the RJWC fuel tuner. Now this guy doesn't mess with your ECU or do anything like that, doesn't mess with parameters, any software. What it does do is interrupt a signal to your injectors and then feed in a different parameter, different variable. So essentially, when you're creating a high flow scenario with these exhausts, you're actually moving more air, so you're going to have to adjust some fuel, and that's where these come into play. So what we're going to be doing is, you'll see I already took the clip off there. Okay, that's the injector for the more forward piston, and you'll see the injector off there also. So these things you can get off very easily. You just got to stick your fingers in there, and essentially this gray clip, you're going to want to put one finger on this side to push that side in, and then get your other finger beside it. Let me see if I can do this while holding a camera. You basically want to pincer it kind of like this, and you push in the gray clip and you just kind of wiggle it up and forward and off. Now for the back one, you can do it, and it wasn't actually all that hard. Another way you can kind of go at it is by removing this black piece here. It's a couple 10 mil bolts in different spots, and you can lift that up and you can get more on top of it, so you can grab it that way. And then what we're going to do is essentially put these in the original injector spots, and this will connect to the RJWC, and this lead will go to your original leads that went to the injector previously. Then all you got to do is run your negative, which is this guy, and that's going to go to the battery, is what's recommended, but I mean ideally you could go to the frame also. There's actually a location right here that's ideal. This is the engine ground here, so it just so happens to be in the right place. So once you've got those clips off, you just clip this bad boy in and then route it however you please, and a lot of people mount it right here because it actually fits underneath the cover. I've seen it there. I don't know if there's any adjustments. I'm going to follow along doing the same thing essentially. And I'll be putting some dielectric grease just because why not? You're already here doing it. And I'm also going to probably silicone the actual module itself and the leads, just to kind of make sure, because I don't trust how waterproof these really are. And with the amount of water we play in, it's going to have to be done. So I'll probably silicone the crack along the whole case. It looks like it has been, not siliconed, but some sort of treatment anyway. And there's little tiny gaskets and stuff around the wires, but as you can see, this is right out of the box and it's kind of lifted, so I have some trust issues there. So I'll silicone all of that and do this up properly. I know some people put them in waterproof containers and do it that way too. I might actually go that way. I'm not sure yet. But that's what we're going to do. And we're going to match that with the exhaust and start messing with some of the modes. So you have a bunch of different ranges. You basically run through the modes for idle, acceleration, etc., etc. You'll see it with your kit, and then you can play with the numbers here. You know, it says 1 to 8 here, so just so you know, 8 isn't the most power you can get out of it. Ideally, you want to control the air-fuel ratio so that it's at a happy point. And as you're adjusting it while running, you'll notice it's popping or unhappy or starting to knock, and you can increase the fuel. And you'll notice, basically by sound, how happy it will be. And there's recommendations in the kit, and this guy here is supposed to be set for RJWC stage 1 apparently. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to play with that, try to keep knocking out this lean condition that these bikes come with to meet emissions with the APA. So far so good. I've got those connectors off. I'll get some dielectric grease, slam this back together, and finish up. Okay guys, so I got everything connected. So now the controller is actually connected into the injector, and then the original connection to the injector is also connected into the male of the RJWC tuner. Now, I did this in probably I would say about 10-15 minutes. I only had to remove the side plastics. The only thing I had to do was getting the rear injector back on and connected. I used a mixture of a finger and a long flathead screwdriver, and that helped me guide it. And once it was guided to where it was going to meet up, I just clipped it on with my fingers. So make sure you hear the snap when it actually connects and you'll be good to go. So now I'm left with these wires, and I'm going to put some electrical tape on them and tuck them up nice with some zip ties, and that'll be done that way. Then I just have to route the ground, and once that's done, this thing is ready to rock, and we'll start looking into some of the information and see what we're going to do about where we want to be in the modes, or if it's happy. I run this exhaust before the tuner just to kind of bake on some of the exhaust wrap and a few other things, make sure I had no leaks, and it didn't seem too mad about it, but when I was checking out the temperatures and stuff, it was quite high. So I'll be curious to see if this RJWC actually does do what it claims. And I've seen videos of people's engines being pretty angry about certain exhaust systems, and the tuners did help that way. They were less violent or out of tune, so curious if it'll actually fix the lean condition. The original stock pipes were running somewhere in the ballpark of 300 degrees Celsius, which, as you can imagine, is very hot. So if I can do any better than that, then, well, there might be something to it. Considering these are larger volume headers and exhaust pipes from RJWC, without the tuner, it should actually be worse. It should be running more lean. And that's why they tell you to get one of these tuners. So we're going to see how this goes once I get all this buttoned up and tuned up. So stay tuned. Okay, guys. So as you can see, I've got it all coiled up. I made sure it was out of the way of the shifter. I put a little bit of electrical tape and some shrink wrap over some things that I didn't like. Some dielectric grease on the connections, and then I temporarily put it up there. I'm going to put some silicone on that all after, and then I tied the ground wire all the way back to the actual battery, and they're following along my wires for my halos. That wire usually actually sits in this rail here when the plastic's there, so it's out of the way and everything's good to go. I know that wire is going to tuck nicely because those other wires did before, so everything should be out of the way. I might have to make a notch right here, I'm not sure yet, when I put all the other plastics back over, just so that the actual leads have a place to sit. But other than that, she's ready to test out. And the exhaust, I made sure everything was tight and everything was good to go. I gave it a good rattle and a run, and we should be able to do some more testing from here and start playing with the module so we can get all of our fuel ratios right. So pretty excited now. A couple final steps. I think I'll put the top shield over top of the pipes, just because they still do obviously get hot, and I got to be concerned about a few rubber pieces there. These shields create a gap, a nice contained air gap. They don't work perfectly, but that's why I wrap the pipes. So yeah, pretty excited. I just gotta jam all of this back up. I might have to make a couple custom bits, that kind of thing, just because they are significantly larger than the stock pipes. But so far so good, so I'll fit that up, and then we'll carry on with actually turning the machine and doing some tuning. So a little bit of troubleshooting with the RJWC tuner. I got it all plugged in, exhaust is tight, no leaks. The stage 1 tuning was in the tuner, so everything was happy that way as far as starting up and everything. But then we got a check engine light and the bike went into limp mode. Now, I've been up and down making sure connectors were good, they're clicked in, everything's proper. I contacted Dobek, who's the actual creator of the tuner. They just relabel it for RJWC or whoever's going to sell it. So I contacted them. We double checked a bunch of things, basically what I just told you. Made sure that everything was routed properly. I didn't crisscross anything. Sometimes you can forget the basics, so I went through it with them. Everything was good. The RJWC produces certain LEDs for when everything's happy and connected, and it did do so, so I know everything is connected properly. The bike runs great except for the limp mode. So I took it out for a drive, and everything was exactly as it should be until it hit the rev limiter on the limp mode. What I suspect is this thing has limp mode on now because of improper fuel balances, or something else relatable, and it put a limp mode on, and then I got everything sorted out, and it's just not happy, and I just got to get rid of the limp mode. So I also contacted RJWC for their chart. They've also got an Outlander somewhere in Sweden with the header and dual pipes from RJWC with the tuner. They recommended a different SKU here for the tuner. So mode 1, 2, and 3 is basically your idle, acceleration, and high RPM, and those are the only three you should be playing with. So that's your fuel for those scenarios. And it was significantly higher than what stage 1 comes with in the tuner out of the box. So did that, bike ran even better, so everything was good that way. Still have a limp mode though. So I got to talking with my neighbor, and we drummed up a few ideas. We tried to get the code out of the machine, and they wanted something where you have to touch your nose and rub your belly at the same time and hope to get the code. I couldn't pull the code. They wanted you to go to the hour setting, hold down the S button on your dash here, and then flick your light switch a bunch of times, and the code comes up. Well, I can't get that to work, and I don't know if that actually works with these new dashes. Typically, these weren't included with the bike up until 2018. These were the side-by-side dashes, so that might be a different scenario. So like I said, can't pull the code. So what we're trying next is we've got my meter hooked up here to the battery, and what it's actually doing is draining the memory battery in the ECU so that there is no more memory. Reconnect it once that drops to a whole lot of zeros, and hopefully it will reset the computer and the limp mode's gone. If it's gone and it comes back, that means I do still have an issue somewhere along the lines. And I could have bumped different wires. I could have done a bunch of things. I don't think so, but we're going to find out shortly. So we'll let the battery drain in the ECU. The resistance basically, as I was explained to me, of the meter is actually draining the battery. So that's working out well. And I'll let you know how it goes from here. So a little update. We connected the battery again. Everything was pretty well dissipated. No memory anymore, or at least we don't think there was. And it still got a code. So what I'm going to probably do now is take the tuner back off, connect everything back to stock. Shouldn't take much more than 20 minutes. And see if that code will go away. And if it does, then there's a tuner issue. And Dobek RJWC, the manufacturer and dealer for these units, said they would take it back and send me a different one. We're going to try a few things. This is going to be a multi-day process. You know, I got life around this. Not a big deal. It is what it is. When you're modifying something, nothing just bolts on. There's always something you got to deal with. And that's the nature of the beast. Not a big deal. At the end of the day, this bike's going to be wicked, so that's what it's all about. It's all in good fun. So I'll be interested to know what it's all about, and hopefully it's educational for someone down the road who has this issue and comes back to me, you know, and I can help somebody hopefully, and it's all good. So I'm going to call it a night tonight, and I'm going to try a few troubleshooting factors tomorrow, and hopefully sort this out one day soon and then get it on the road. I gave it a test shot outside, up and down the street. First time I actually rode on these tires. They're actually not as bad as I thought they would be. So that was good. Keeping in mind that I was in limp mode and I couldn't rev too high. So I think it cut out around $6 grand. But we'll sort this out. And we'll see you guys next time, which, I mean, really, for you guys is in like 0.5 seconds again. Magic of video editing just for you guys. So, right on. Okay, guys. So, update on the tuner. And this is 2 seconds for you guys, like I keep saying, but it's a multi-day adventure for me. So, what basically happened is I installed it. I am a mechanic by trade, so there was no issues with incorrect installation or anything like that. It just so happens that after a lot of troubleshooting that I got a faulty tuner. Now, this isn't to knock Dobeck or, you know, RJWC. So Dobeck actually manufactures these tuners, and basically any company who sells an exhaust can use them and label them with whatever they want. So I had a chat with Dobeck. I had a chat with RJWC. They gave me some pointers to double check some stuff and do some troubleshooting, and believe me, I'm into it. But as it stands, I got a code. And basically, these newer machines, especially in North America, they don't have like O2 sensors or anything like that. So these machines actually can't recognize if they're running lean or rich or whatever. So that wasn't actually the issue. What it came down to is I brought it to my dealer. They know me reasonably well, and a guy helped me out there just to read it with the BUD system, and that's the basically platform that they use to read the codes on the Can-Am machines. So what I got in the ECM is a hard code for cylinder 1, injector open, circuit or shorted to ground. Now, I know what that sounds like, and this is for both, actually, sorry, cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. What that actually translates to is the ECM communicates with all the different modules and sensors that are on your machine, and it recognizes if it's being interrupted. And Dobeck knows this, and typically in their hardware, they have basically a roundabout for that. So it tricks the ECU to believe that nothing has been changed. It doesn't actually change the parameters in your ECU. It just basically interrupts the signal, translates the signal, and sends it off to your machine. And that's how we're tuning the fuel with this. So this particular one just so happens to be one that fails to do so. So this machine recognized that it was being interrupted, and that's why it was running perfectly fine. Everything ran fantastic, and it was running wicked. But it put me into limp mode because it recognized that something was changed. So I talked to Dobeck and my dealer. They're going to send me out a new unit. We're going to do it again. And Dobeck does recognize, and they were super awesome to deal with. Same with Trevor from Dirty Life. He's going to send me one out right away under warranty. And I'll send this one back so they can troubleshoot the issue. They were actually saying that they have not a failure rate, but a defect rate like under 1.5%. And when you think about anybody manufacturing, these things can happen. It's all good. It always happens to be me for some reason, but that's fine. I put in the work to make sure it wasn't me. And when we found out it was actually the unit itself, everybody was fantastic about making sure that I was taken care of. So this is going to turn into a week-long adventure for something that takes like 20 minutes to install, but that's okay. That's basically it. So I'm waiting for the new one. I'll plug that guy in. We'll be back up and running, and I'll continue on with the other mods. So like I say, it's nothing to do with all these other guys. It's just a defect that can happen to anybody in any product. Something you guys need to know is when you get into anything, any mods, performance, when they say bolt on, there's always a little bit of legwork. This stuff happens. So it is what it is. We're going to carry on. And in the end, we're going to have a wicked little scenario here. Can't wait for it to be done. It just so happens that I'm plenty ahead of schedule as far as YouTube's concerned. I have some time to sit on it. It's all good. So yeah, quick little update. But yeah, can't wait to get it back on the road and hit some trails. I can't wait for it to be done. I seriously can't. So super pumped. Okay, day 996 of fuel tuning in Outlander. I got a new one on. Trevor from Dirty Life got that sorted out as fast as possible. He was really quick about helping me out replacing the unit. Dobek was super informative, and looks like we were right. So the previous tuner that I got wasn't able to hide from the ECU, so it was going into limp mode. It was able to do its job, but I was revving out at about 6 grand. So I replaced the unit real quick. I haven't strapped it up or anything like that. And everything runs perfectly fine now, no codes, no nothing. So obviously that was exactly the issue. So now we have that and the exhaust done. And I'm gonna wait to put some plastics and stuff on because I have other projects on the go. And yeah, and then we'll get a sound clip and start doing the tests and stuff like that. Oh man, does it ever sound good. Super happy with that. That tuner livened this bike up huge. I got an air fuel ratio gauge on it earlier, and it's running tip top. I got it tuned. Every bike's a little different with these tunes, so be careful just trusting someone's word for what lights to put on for mode 1, 2, and 3 on these tuners. If you have any questions, just message me and I'll definitely help you out. Yeah, what an experience. Normally this is a 20-minute scenario, but for me it was a couple days of shipping this and back and forth and phone calls. But this is the stuff that happens when you're modifying, so just expect that at some point this will happen to you too. Not a big deal, but I'm glad it's done now, so I'll tuck all that up and secure everything, make sure it's good to go, and that's it for the fuel tuner. Right on, guys. Thanks.